Alrighty, welcome back to Musical Connections. This is Next to Connect from the Emera Innovation Exchange here at Signal Hill campus in St. John's for Music Celebration Week 2023. I'm Zach Snow, and if you've ever been around to Campbellton, Newfoundland, you may be familiar with my next guest. He is a singer-songwriter who is also a music educator. He's won Music Educator of the Year a couple of times, and he's got a brand new single out called Down the Street. And coming down to Signal Hill campus here in St. John's to talk with me on Next to Connect is one and the only Adam Baxter. Adam, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me, Zach.
And
congrats on your award last night.
Well, thank you so much. By the time this does air, yours truly is the 2023 Media Person of the Year. And to everyone out there who voted, and to the jury, and to everyone who has been on this podcast, whether through Next to Connect or Newfound Releases, thank you so much. And thank you again for coming on. And this is the start of another new season, so let's get to it.
Let's do it.
So how are things in your world right now, Adam, when it comes to your career and just life in general?
Pretty good. I'm in a spot now where I'm kind of evaluating what I'm going to do for the next 20 years of my life. I am a pretty passionate music educator, and I'm a pretty passionate singer-songwriter. So yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, it's a loaded question, so I don't really want to answer it too much, just because I don't want to give it a definitive answer as to where I'm going with it. But things in my world are good. Music is feeling really good. Classroom stuff is going really good. I couldn't be happier. But maybe things will change. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, when it comes to your music career, you've been a very busy guy. I want to go back to your early days in music. So what got you into it in the first place?
Well, it was like the mid-'90s, right? So we didn't have the internet or phones or anything like that. So me and my friends wanted to start a band. And I was originally supposed to be the bass player. But I asked my dad, I said, how do you get good at bass? Because my dad was a drummer growing up. And he said, the best way to get good at bass is to learn guitar. And so he bought me a guitar so I could learn bass. And I haven't really strayed from the guitar too much. I can play bass quite well, but like I haven't really strayed of that. So that was my number one instrument. And I started some bands with like my best friends. And we were like writing like weird songs, write punk rock songs back in the day. And just really enjoying each other's company, and we made a little career and a culture of ourselves in where we did that. It was awesome.
That's wonderful, man.
Yeah,
now, those early years in particular, you released a couple of like albums on Bandcamp, and I just found out from researching for this interview, you released songs on MySpace.
Yeah.
You released them like towards the time where MySpace was really starting to like phase out, and we were deeply entrenched into Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So tell me a little bit about those early years.
Well, now this is going to shift probably 12 years from what we just talked about, but so the MySpace thing, that was really popular back in like 2006. I think it was around then is when we were really hitting the MySpace, and though it was becoming obsolete everywhere else, it wasn't like Newfoundland hadn't really caught up yet, so it was still really popular, especially with the crew that I rolled with. I rolled with like the metal scene a lot, and even though I was a solo singer-songwriter, like I would open up for like metal bands like Protest the Hero, Children of Eve, all these like crazy heavy bands, but Adam Baxter would open, and it was so sick. And so that's why we really gravitated towards MySpace, because that's what our culture was using for like music streaming at the time, right? So yeah, that's what we were doing, or we'd send MP3s to our friends and stuff like that. So, but that's where it was accessible to the public. Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
now, you yourself are a music educator.
Yes,
you
sir.
Teach students from your home in Campbellton, Newfoundland, and Labrador.
Yeah.
Why take up music teaching? Is it like something that can really help you, pay the bills, where you're like a singer-songwriter, and a lot of people like these days when you're playing music, unless you're like a superstar, you really got to like get gig after gig after gig to pay those bills. So tell me more about why you became a teacher.
It was always kind of the goal, because it's a guaranteed paycheck with having a musical life, right? So I wanted to gravitate towards that, and I thought that was a really good idea for me, and I didn't ever think that my music would get to a point where I ever could make money at it, but here we are now, hey, but so that's the biggest reason, was definitely the financial, but I also I wanted to go to music school and study music to enhance my knowledge of music and become the best musician that I could. And then when I was done my undergrad was in music theory and composition. When I was done that, I was like, well, what am I going to do with my degree? I was like, well, I might as well teach, so my parents can be proud of me and I can make good money. So that's why. Yeah, man.
That's wonderful. Now, you released your first EP, Clean Hands, in 2016.
Yeah.
And of course, you released singles here and there when it came to your Bandcamp and
Yeah.
for the RPM challenge. But the first non-RPM album was
Yeah.
Clean Hands, and you worked on this with the team at Citadel House, Dean Stairs, Stevie,
Yes,
and the
sir.
rest of the gang. So, what do you remember most about recording the album?
Well, I remember the biggest thing about recording that album is that's right when my wife and I bought a house.
Oh, wow.
So we had like the team in, and I'd be like going to the studio, then going back and forth to where we were renting and where we were buying a house. So it was so hectic. But I just remember like having the fellas in and just tracking and having people around filming in the Citadel House and just like being really excited for it to come out. That was a huge part of it for sure.
That's awesome. Now, of course, you released albums over the past 7 years or so, and also singles from like 2020 to 2023. We'll get
Yes,
to Down the
sir.
Street later on. But I want to talk about the people you shared the stage with.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
you shared the stage with the likes of Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo,
Yep.
Sam Roberts, the Arkells, Gordy Sampson,
Yeah.
among others. So, out of all those people that you shared the stage with, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Do it.
Which one has been your favorite to share the stage with, and why?
Gordy Sampson.
Okay,
That
tell me
quick.
why.
Now, not to discredit any of the others. I mean, they're phenomenal. It was great to like rub shoulders with them and stuff like that. But Gordy Sampson was like, the way it worked out was I was booked to play at the Carlton in Halifax on my birthday in 2019.
Oh, wow.
On July 2nd. And so I was booked, and it was just supposed to be my gig, right? And then Mike messaged me and said, hey, slight change of plans. Gordy Sampson wants to play that night too. And I was like, that's cool. Can I keep my gig? And he's like, yeah. I was like, can I tell people I'm opening for Gordy Sampson? He was like, yeah, because you are opening for Gordy Sampson. So like, Mike Campbell is the man, by the way, but it was just so nice.
Nice.
That happened. And it was like, sometimes you'll open up for these big names, you never get to talk to them. Like I opened for Sass Jordan once and I never got to speak with her. Only for like just say, hey, thanks for coming to Lewisport, and like that was it. But then, but like after my set, there was like probably like 20 minutes before Gordy went on, and he came and was like, man, he's like, great job, thank you so much for opening. He was just so nice, so down to earth, and like this guy wrote Jesus Take the Wheel, and I'm like, dude, you're
did he
so
really?
nice. Yeah, he did.
Oh, Gordy Sampson.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, he's a world-renowned songwriter, right? And that's. Man, that'd be the goal, wouldn't it? And it was just so amazing to see him play. I only got to see half his set because I had to drive to Ottawa the next day.
Oh, man.
So I left and drove like to Moncton and cut 3 hours off the drive and then drove to Ottawa. So,
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny. Now, your most recent single has been Down the Street.
Yes, sir.
And tell me a little bit more about Down the Street.
Well, the best part for me about Down the Street is that I linked up, and during the pandemic, I linked up with this producer named Gene Phillips out of Mount Pearl. He's a younger guy, not a lot of people know him, but he sent me some of his stuff, and it was really high quality. And I was like, let's do a song together. And he's like, sure. So I sent him a bunch of demos, and this was like a few years after the pandemic, I should say. This is about 2021. And I sent him some demos, and we started like just kind of talking, and then it was like, okay, let's start recording it. So it took us about a year to get Down the Street done because he produces like heavier stuff, like kind of like Tea Party, Deftones kind of stuff. But I knew that what he did would transfer well into what I wanted in a production, and so it came out that way. And it was great to work with him because the tones were good. Like I said, it took us a bit of time to find the groove, but now we got a groove and we're going with it. Like when I get home on Sunday, we're starting the process for the next set of songs that I'll roll out over 2024.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we had this conversation during one of the after parties
fun.
during the showcase.
Yeah.
During Music Celebration Week. And one of the points that you brought up is that like we need more songwriters coming out of Central Newfoundland, or
Yes,
more of
sir.
them to get featured, I should say.
Yeah.
So what do you feel? How do you feel about the scene in Central Newfoundland? Because of course, when you think about that, you have names like yourself, Jordan Harnum.
Yep.
You have Mike 6-8. You have Mike
Yep.
Jenkins, Tom Pinsent, and Robin Slade.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the scene out there in Central Newfoundland, and what do you think needs to be done to help it thrive?
I think there's like a lot of talent, especially like up and coming talent. As a teacher, I get to see that, but I feel there's like not a lot bringing us all together. There's not like one venue. There's been like no singer-songwriter circles or stuff like that. Now I'll play with Jordan Harnum in Twillingate once or twice a year, and I'll play with Mike in Twillingate once or twice a year. But I would like to get all of us together and see who is there and what is bringing us together.
Yeah.
And what can we do to build awareness for each other?
Sure.
I think that's the one thing that's missing, because it's not for lack of talent.
Oh, absolutely not. But
man.
I get what you mean, because when you go to like the West Coast, I mean, you have like Cornerbrook, you have like those venues out there. 62 Broadway recently just opened.
Yes, sir.
You have the Rotary Arts Center, you have the Palace, you have the Hue and Draw, St. John's. Take your pick. The Ship, the Battery, the Rock House, the Emera. I mean, you name it. So
yes, sir.
If there's like a venue there that can be like established in like a Gander or Grand Falls, Windsor, that could be like a place for artists like yourself and Mike and Jordan and the rest of Central Newfoundland's finest to showcase their music to a wider audience. Say, hey man, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, the Citadel House is now doing more since the pandemic. That's in Lewisport. That's a great venue that we could definitely tap into. The Arts and Culture Center in Gander is very supportive as well. Leslie Hewlett there definitely is not opposed to ideas of local showcases. So there are infrastructures. It's just we need to bring it all together.
So like word of mouth, social media promotion, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, or even imagine if there was like a Central Newfoundland Music Coalition or something like that. Somewhat like Music but like much smaller and like under them. Something that would tie it all together.
Or like a rep from like each province, like one for the Avalon, one for Central, one for the West Coast, and one for Labrador.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that they know what's coming in and they can like go to instead of like having to call out of St. John's, which is not a bad thing either.
No, it's not.
It's just like it'll make things much faster for you guys to get yourself known.
It will help develop the culture of it, I think.
Exactly.
Yes, bye.
Now, of course, you said you're going to be releasing some brand new singles throughout the year of 2024.
Yes, sir.
What else is next for you, Adam?
Well, that's the big thing that I'm focusing on. I definitely, in the rollout of these songs that are going to come out in 2024, I definitely want to play across the island as much as I can. Like, I consider my life as a perpetual Newfoundland tour, but I think I want to get off the island and start rebuilding the work that I did before the pandemic in terms of building audiences in different markets across Atlantic and Eastern Canada. And even if I can branch out further west, sure, let's do it.
And for people who want to find out more about what Adam Baxter is going to be up to next, where can they go?
Well, you can find me on all socials under the handle Adam Baxter Music. That's definitely where I post the most. But I try and post everything on my website, adambaxtermusic.com. Or you can email me, adambaxtermusic@gmail.com. But that's number one. Socials are where you're going to find it. Instagram is the most active, and Facebook is pretty active as well.
Well, Adam, congratulations on all your success, and congratulations on this brand new tune, Down the Street. We're going to play that right after this conversation as we're about to wrap up here on Next to Connect. So, Adam, thank you so much for joining me. All the best to you, and congratulations again on all your success.
Thanks, brother. It's always a pleasure to see you, and always a pleasure to chat to you. Let's do it again sometime.
Oh, for sure. This won't be our last time, that's for sure.
Perfect.